Welcome back to the second segment of the Loveland Report and Lone Ranger Show. We've been talking about what's going on with summer selling. Our Leapfrog program coming up this Wednesday. Go to WeBringYouHome.com to register for that. We'll teach you how to make money and pass wealth on to your family through rental properties. I want to talk about, Bruce, I want to talk about the right lender. I've had some people. I just had a gentleman talking about, called into one of the big onliners, and they were telling him he had to pay off his old mortgage on the house, but he's going to rent it. He's leapfrogging.
Okay.
And that rate's 3.75, and they wanted to pay off this 120 grand. And I said, well, wait a minute. Why don't you just call him back? And this is the problem. He's talking to somebody reading off a screen.
Brother.
And I said, call him back and say, hey, instead of doing this, why don't I just give you more money down? And he called me and texted me, and I tried to switch him over to you, but he's closing in 2 weeks. He don't want to rock the boat. But he calls me back and goes, man, that was a great idea. And I'm like, this is something you would have seen from the beginning.
Well, I actually am interviewing a guy that works for a bank right now for a job, but I'm like, what about your company? And this is a big bank. Okay. What about this doesn't work for you? He goes, they can't freaking get a loan to get through. I mean, unless it's vanilla, and they'll even mess up the vanilla deal. And I'm like,
that's a very good description.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? How come? He goes, it's a bunch of incompetence. And he's worked for the big ones like the Wells, the Bank of America, the Fifth Third, the Truist.
Yep.
But that's what you get. You're not getting the highly capable loan officers. And part of the reason is that their bank reps don't make that much money.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's making like 40,000 a year. It's terrible. So you can't even, that's minimum wage.
Yeah.
So you can't have a good qualified professional.
I have other realtors, when they send me a pre-qual letter and then I say, hey, wait a minute, that's an online lender. That's an out-of-state lender. They don't care about you and me.
Nope.
They never care about closing loans again. Will you please call Bruce? And I guarantee you he'll take great care of your customer. And you've gotten a lot of realtors that I've sent you that way.
A lot of realtors.
Because they are happy just to know the loan is done. And realtors, I can't say enough about that. But Bruce, I want to ask you also about, rates are still bobbing around high sixes.
Yep.
What's funny is I saw somebody talking about they're doing a 7-1 arm. Don't you think they should have started doing 5 and 7-1 arms about 3 years ago? But nobody knew this would last that long.
It's interesting that we have not seen the arm rates as low as I think they should have been. As a matter of fact, arms are not cheaper than fixed right now. They're just not.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is there's no pooling of buyers in the secondary market on the bond market for them. They don't want them.
Yeah.
They don't want adjustable
because
rates.
we were told 3 years ago, this was transitory inflation, or 4 years ago.
Well,
and
apparently it wasn't that.
Exactly.
Transitory, I guess, is an open word. When does it transition?
Go eat some ice cream. Anyway, but it's just having the right loan product. But you still think, because that's why we still got compression, right? A point or two up front, depending on what you're doing.
I don't know when that compression is going to be leaving the market either. It just doesn't.
Rates really have to go into the 5s, don't they?
They would have to.
So, but luckily in this market, like we just got somebody 6% closing costs. I always think buyers should do closing costs. I mean, the seller.
Well, we teach you that in our classes, how to do that.
But in their head, the sellers just think, okay, they're not. You send them an offer 15,000 below list, and they're kind of like, oh, I'm not taking that. And I deal with this all the time. Like every offer is worth a counter offer, but you send them a full price offer and say, hey, the buyer just needs this, and you do their net sheet. It's like you're one step closer to working things out. And so sometimes I'll sell above list, and I think the appraisal will be there.
Well, it was interesting because I know which transaction you're talking about. And even Cleve had called me and said, why do we need so much closing costs for this buyer?
Yeah.
And that's another reason that you need a good lender, because on the surface, you would have looked at it and go, why the heck does Bruce need this much in closing costs? Because the buyer didn't qualify without it, but they did with it. So I mixed up a buy down in there, a permanent buy down and a temporary buy down and the closing costs.
Yep.
And we got it all done. But that listing agent called me and said the same thing. They're like, that's a little excessive in closing costs for the seller to pay for your buyer, isn't it? And I said, well, if they pay you the full price offer, and they actually paid $3,000 over ask price, but they got almost $19,000 in closing costs paid. So their net was phenomenal. It was a great deal.
Yeah.
But it was the only way to make the deal work.
Well, here's the thing about this, buyers. If you're out there, you're renting or you're sitting on your parents' couch or in your parents' basement, that all in at a 320,000, that buyer is going to be about 12 to 14 grand all in.
Yep.
And they own the house. They stop paying 2,500 in rent, and I think their payment's right around there.
Yes,
So,
it is.
Yeah. So
their payment was right where they needed it to be. And
I don't care.
Cash to close was where it had to be.
Don't care what genius on TikTok you're watching that says, don't buy a house. They're going to come down in value. They're not coming down.
Person.
Exactly. Never met a rich renter. Get your first home. We will teach you how to make money on it.
Yep. How do they reach you?
407-352-8118 and cleveloveland.com.
Yeah. Or the Loan Arranger right here. We do return our phone calls, by the way. If you call while we're in the studio, we can't pick up the phone, but we will call you when we're finished. 407-250-9144. That's 407-250-9144. Listen, if you call my number, leave me a message. Tell me what it is that you're looking for, and I'll give you a call back. If you're looking to get pre-approved, we'll do that over the weekend. If you're looking just to ask me a question, I'll give you a call back when we're finished here, but leave a detailed message. And do me a favor. If you leave me a message, answer your phone when I call you, because I promise to call you back.
Yep.
And then I get these calls and I'm like, how come you're not in? Or people like, my voicemail is not set up yet. How do you do that?
Oh, God.
Why
I can tell you stories about realtors I call and their voicemail set up or their voicemail is full. How many messages do you have to have in your voicemail to have it full?
A lot.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to ask you about jumbo loans, Bruce. I got some listings we're going to talk about next segment. They're in the 900s and over $1 million. What's the difference on jumbos right now? Are they still running in the same range, high sixes?
Actually, jumbos can tend to be a little bit lower in rate right now, but you have to remember that a jumbo loan it has more restrictions. So you're more restrictive on
reserves,
debt ratio. Yeah. You need to be more like a 43 ratio instead of a 50 ratio. So you have to have more cash reserves.
Are they 10% down, 5% down?
Well, you can do 10% down jumbos, but you're not going to then get that premium rate because then you're getting off rate.
So you need 20%,
so
like a big loan.
If you want the good jumbos with the premium interest rates, then you're putting 20% down.
Yep.
Period. You're putting 20% down.
Yep.
If you want, now that's not the case, say on my physician program, because but those are oftentimes adjustable rate or they are fixed rate without PMI, but they are a little different. They're a specialized type program.
Yep.
And those we can do with no money down.
Wow. So I'm seeing more homes, not lakefront, at $1 million. I got a couple of them. I got a couple of them listed. And it's funny how,
but you think about that. If you had 20% to put down at $1 million, you're not even into a jumbo loan because that's an $800,000.
You're right. So
loan.
like I got one for $1.4 million, 3 acres, 5,000 square feet in Montverde. Great single story ranch style home with a guest apartment at $1,450,000. And so that one might be one for somebody if they're only going to put down 20%.
Right. So that would definitely be one. $1 million. If you only had 10% to put down, you're going to end up getting a specialty type product.
Yep.
But most of the people buying, you know who my biggest competitor is in the jumbo market? Cash.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's cash. It's not another lender.
Yep.
It's cash.
Yep.
People will pay cash. And where they're coming up and buying these $2 million houses and paying cash, I don't know where the money's coming from. Yeah. However, if you do need a mortgage, you want the best lender, and I'm applying for the job. Put me to the test. I promise I won't let you down. 407-250-9144 or WeBringYouHome.com. I've got every loan program you could possibly think of, and we are here to guide you in the right direction. VA, FHA, USDA, construction perm, renovation loans, anything you need.
How are your builders doing right now? They still buying cost?
All builders are somewhat struggling right now. They're having to do these super rate buy downs. Mm-hmm. If you notice these builders that are offering these 399 rates or 499 rates,
that's probably an ARM, right? Or it's
not an ARM. It's a permanent buy down. Like you can get it at a lot of these builders, but what they're doing is those rates are costing that builder on a $500,000 house $50,000 to
gosh.
buy that rate down.
Well, that's because they don't want to reduce the price of their home. They'd rather take a beating on the mortgage company.
Well, they
to
have to
stay on.
increase the price of the
Yeah.
house. So you're actually paying for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't think the builders.
Well,
won't.
I just
You're
had
paying for it.
2 cash deals on new construction. And this is why you got to have a realtor. When you go look at new construction, I had 2 different builders in Central Florida. They were moving out of these neighborhoods. Both of them for cash came off almost 4%, 5% on the home, and they weren't giving that much in closing costs.
No.
So it's definitely important you have somebody help you negotiate new construction. It doesn't cost more. We actually landed better deals for our buyers.
Yeah. Well, new construction is for some people and it's not for others. That if you want new construction, it's difficult to find a home that has, any type of yard, any type of space, right?
Yep.
Very difficult to get these days. They're all in strict HOAs. And if you don't mind having a house that looks just like yours, 4 doors down, and be close to the neighbor, you can get a lot of house for the money. You can get a big house on a small lot. And a lot of people are okay with that. For me, I like a little bit of room to stretch out. I want a little bit of room, a little bit of property. Some people want acreage. You're not going to find a production builder building on acreage. They just don't do it. You have to go semi-custom. So you can talk to my friends at Pine Creek or Eastern Homes, or I've got a number of builders I can turn you on to. 407-250-9144 for the Lone Ranger. 407-352-8118 for Cleve Loveland.
All right.
What you got there?
I want to talk about setting records, Bruce. And that's what I'm not seeing a lot of. Most home prices are creeping up. But what's funny is I have a new listing next week. House will be 800,000. It's totally renovated. Unfortunately, they had a flood in the home, but good news is they'd already bought their other house.
Yep.
House is brand new inside. I mean, really, really nicely updated over in Conway area for 800,000. But setting records, I just don't see, not too many people are setting records. But what's funny, I was looking at their house.
Records on what?
Highest price ever for a house, highest price per square foot. And those things move up slowly.
I think we hit that during COVID.
In this market, well, we've got higher prices now than we did during COVID, but just slowly. But when a house is on the market, people don't want to be the record breaker.
So the housing prices after COVID, when we saw a decline, have actually gotten higher
because
than
inflation.
We've
still had appreciation since
we
COVID.
have.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting thing for you to bring up then,
Yep.
Cleve. And I think people need to note that is that all of the people that told you don't buy because housing prices were going to drop made a mistake. And you and I have been telling them the opposite.
Yep.
So we were right then.
Yes. Tell my wife that.
Well,
anyway, but setting records like Bruce, this house I'm looking at for 800, they asked me about a couple listings they saw driving through the neighborhood. And there was 2 other houses just like theirs, one at 950 and one at 999. And I said, well, let's look at them. I got my iPad out and we looked at the history of the listing. One had been on for 9 months, hadn't adjusted the price once. So obviously not too motivated to sell, not getting the right advice, or not.
Or they don't care. They just
the sharpest knife in the drawer. The other one had been on for 6 months with a couple of reductions, but not a lot. And the last reduction was like 4 months ago. So this is what's important. And in this market, you've got to be, pigs get fat, get slaughtered, and you can get a good price in this market. Buyers will pay you top dollar, and you want the most people kicking through your home. You don't want to auction it. You got I
got to get a pig sound in here.
The auction is bringing 20 sharks in to pay you about whatever you can get that day. Going on the market, usually you get top dollar within the first 2 to 8 weeks. And that's it. So call me at 407-352-8118 or go to cleveloveland.com. When we get back, I'm going to do some listings and we'll finish up the show.
Yeah. Well, and we got some great listings to listen to Cleve on. They've got some really good products out there that you can look at. If you are looking to buy in the market, give Cleve a call. I can help you with your mortgage. I've got everything you need. I'm the largest lender in the country, retail lender, and we've got every product and the best possible pricing. 407-250-9144 for the Lone Ranger, or WeBringYouHome.com. That's 407-250-9144 or WeBringYouHome.com. Cleve Loveland's going to go over listings in just a minute, so don't go anywhere. And we've got some additional things to talk about, and our class that we're doing on the 18th. You will not want to miss that. Cleve Loveland, 407-352-8118 or cleveloveland.com. We'll be right back.